Play is one of the greatest mysteries of the animal world. You've seen it in dogs, maybe even your cat. Sometimes it can be cute, but other times it can be pretty scary. So why do animals play, and what does it mean for them? To answer that question, we need to look at all kinds of animals, from birds to bunnies to primates and more. And don't worry, we will get to some of those iconic clips of animals doing something weird and funny. But first, let's see how science helps us understand play behavior. When watching animal videos online, you might have come across this definition of play by Harvard University's renowned ethologist and animal behavior researcher Dr. Natalie M. Kerr. Play is any behavior that appears to be motivated by neither the need to obtain a resource, like food or sex, nor the apparent need to avoid danger. Or in other words, when an animal does something just for fun, it sounds simple enough, but actually figuring out if an animal is playing can be pretty complicated. See, sometimes an animal's seemingly playful behavior can actually be something else. Take honeybees, for example. Honeybees waggle dance to communicate the location of nearby flowers to their nestmates. They also do something called the waggle run, where they run around the hive in circles while wagging their abdomen. At first glance, you might think they're playing, but the waggle run is actually part of their nestmate aggression display. The more vigorous the waggle run, the more likely a honeybee is to attack another bee. So it's not exactly fun and games. On the other hand, sometimes what seems like a non-play behavior can actually be a form of play. For instance, take a spider monkey holding on to its own tail and swinging through the trees. At first glance, you might think it's just being lazy, or that it wants to hold on to its tail because it's scared. But a 2016 study found that when given the opportunity, spider monkeys won't hold on to their tails, even though it makes climbing easier. Instead, they prefer to use their hands to grip branches, probably because it's more fun. But okay, now that we know how hard it is to spot play behavior, let's go over some examples of what scientists consider to be animal play. In the animal world, there are two major categories of play: object play and social play. Object play is exactly what it sounds like. An animal is playing with an object like a ball or stick, either alone or with others. Social play involves interactions with conspecifics, meaning members of the same species. This can include mock fighting, chasing, or rough-and-tumble play. Now you might be thinking, well, that's easy. We can totally tell when an animal is playing with other animals of the same species. Just look for the cute, playful, friendly behaviors. But it's not always that simple. Take spotted hyenas, for example. Like many mammals, spotted hyenas engage in rough-and-tumble play when they are young. These bouts of play fighting often involve wrestling, biting, growling, and vocalizations. But the tricky part is that rough-and-tumble play is also part of their courtship rituals. Even once a pair bonds, hyenas still wrestle playfully during their courtship, which can last up to 6 months. So is it play, or is it romance? Well, it depends on the hyenas involved. If they're unrelated individuals of the opposite sex who are interested in mating, then what they're doing is part of their courtship. If they're a bonded pair, or if they're related, then it's considered play. So to sum things up, scientists use for criteria to determine whether an animal's behavior is play or not. First, is the behavior voluntary? This means the animal isn't doing it in response to a clearly defined external stimulus. Next, is the behavior repeated multiple times? If an animal only does a behavior once or twice, scientists are less likely to consider it play. Instead, they'll chalk it up to something else, like exploration or an attempt to obtain food. Play behaviors are often repeated numerous times during the animal's life. Third, is the behavior developmentally appropriate? In other words, would a young animal be doing this behavior if it weren't engaging in play? And finally, does the animal appear to be having fun? Basically, are there signs of joy or pleasure? Some researchers define these signs as an animal doing something that appears to make it more alert, active, and engaged with its surroundings. With those criteria in mind, let's dive into some examples of animals playing with objects. When humans play, we often choose certain objects based on their properties, like a bouncy ball or a flexible stick. And when animals play, they do the same thing. For example, young chimpanzees have been observed selecting flexible twigs over rigid ones when given a choice. And when you think about it, this kind of makes sense. A flexible twig is much more fun to manipulate than a rigid one. Another example comes from a group of female black-crowned night herons. When presented with sticks of varying stiffness, they chose the middle-sized ones that were easier to move around. They didn't choose the stiff or flexible sticks like the night herons. Chimpanzees and night herons aren't the only animals that prefer certain types of objects. A 2017 study found that captive rockfish preferred playing with a spherical ball over a cylindrical one. And a 2019 study showed that spotted dolphins enjoyed interacting with a floating ball more than a floating hoop. As you can see, animals do indeed have fun. Okay, now that we've covered object play, let's talk about social play. Just like object play, social play takes different forms depending on the species. Sometimes it looks like rough-and-tumble play, like two male red deer running and jumping around each other. Other times it looks like mock fighting, such as when two female bonobos box each other with their paws. And sometimes it looks like something we would consider a game, like when cats chase laser pointers. Cats may not be chasing the actual laser, but they are responding to your movements. And this kind of play is thought to help cats develop hunting skills. Similarly, many other animals use play to practice adult behaviors. Take penguins, for example. When Gen 2 penguins raise chicks, the adults often perform a behavior called a mock bow. During a mock bow, one parent slides forward onto its chest, which is a behavior they do when they want to be fed. The chick responds by bowing back, begging for food. Eventually, the penguin erupts into a frenzy of bowing and feeding. But this doesn't mean the chick gets anything to eat. Instead, the parent penguin grabs a fish and quickly gobbles it down. By practicing this behavior, the chicks learn how to beg for food. And later on, they'll use it to trick their parents into giving them snacks. Like begging penguins, some animals use play to practice essential adult behaviors. And according to a 2023 paper, that's what a lot of animal play is for, learning future skills. For instance, juvenile baboons will play with sticks and rocks, which helps them learn how to manipulate objects. Meanwhile, young rhesus macaques will play with water, which prepares them for adulthood when they'll need to use tools to get food. In fact, rhesus macaques are one of the few species known to intentionally dip their food in water to remove potentially irritating husks or shells. Scientists believe that their play with water could be directly related to this behavior. Now, not all scientists agree that practicing for adulthood is the primary reason animals play. But most agree that social play helps animals develop crucial social skills. For example, when primates play, they learn how to read other primates' body language and facial expressions. In the process, they learn how to regulate themselves and control their emotions, which is key for living in a group. And that's the thing about animal play. It's complex and can serve multiple purposes. Some animals play to practice skills they'll need later on. Others play to strengthen their bonds with others in their group. Some just do it for fun. So the next time you watch a funny animal video, remember that what you're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole scientific field dedicated to understanding play behavior, and there's still so much more to learn. Thanks for watching this episode of SCI Show, and thank you to our patrons for helping to support it. Your support allows us to make quality science videos for everyone. You can help us keep making them by supporting us at our website.